morning, Evan here. Today is Friday, March 15th.
So, Jones,
Last week, Isabel Mendez riddle was, if the red house made of bricks and the blue house made of wood, what is the green house made of?
do you know the answer?
The answer is glass. It's a greenhouse. Thanks, Isabel, for submitting this great riddle.
Well, Jones,
Here's another riddle for this week. My name is positive, but sometimes I let people down. What am I? Tune in next week for the answer. Here's Charlie with next Friday's Spirit Week.
All right, Mustangs. Today is Thurgood Marshall Middle School Spirit Wear Day. Let's see all your spirit wear. Again, take a screenshot and send it to Miss Fiero. Next week is Funny Sock Day. So dig up your craziest pair of socks and show them off.
Hey, just another reminder that you can still buy Mustang Spirit Wear in your 2021 yearbook. This yearbook will be like no other, as it will be highlighted with many events and pictures of what we've experienced during the COVID pandemic. Go to the Thurgood Marshall website for information.
Have you ever noticed all the great country flags Ms. White put up in our library? Since 2011, there are 195 independent sovereign nations. However, this does not include dependent areas and disputed territories. Once a week, we will learn about some of the nations in our world. We are going to start with the Philippines. What is it about the Philippines that makes them so different from the rest of the world? Well, for one thing, it is all about their culture. Here are some interesting things you should know about Filipino culture that sets them apart from any other nation on the planet. Filipino culture is a big reflection of great and complex history. It is influenced by most of the people they have interacted with. A blend of Malayo-Polynesian and Hispanic culture with the influence of Chinese, Indian, Arabs, and other Asian cultures really contribute to the customs and traditions of Filipinos. Filipino culture is unique compared to other Asian countries, and beliefs apply every day in the life of the Filipinos and reveal how rich and blessed the culture the people have. First on the list is Mano Po. When children or young people greet or say goodbye to their elders, they typically do so by taking the right hand of the elder with their right hand and touch the back of the elder's hand lightly on their forehead. It is a way of giving respect to the elders and is also a way of receiving a blessing from the elders. Mano is a Spanish word for hand, while po is used at the end of a sentence when addressing elders or superiors. Next is that Filipinos are one of the most hospitable people you will ever find anywhere. Foreign visitors in the country are treated with the utmost respect. This is a trait usually seen during fiestas and holidays where many Filipinos are giving their best to entertain their visitors well. It is amazing to see that even the simplest home along the road opens their home to a stranger. For Filipinos to be able to serve others gives them the honor of showing true friendship. Filipino hospitality is a trait you cannot take away from them.
Having close family ties is also one of their unique traits. It is one of the outstanding cultural values that Filipinos have. The family takes care of each other and are taught to be loyal to family and elders by obeying their authorities. Having fondness for family reunions during secular and religious holidays such as Christmas, New Year's Eve, All Saints' Day, Holy Week, fiestas, homecomings, birthdays, weddings, graduations, baptisms, funerals, etc., is evidence that Filipino people value not only their cultural traditions, but the spirit of family. As Filipinos, they are blessed to have been brought up with strong family ties. Filipinos highly value the presence of family more than anything. Adult children living with their parents is another Filipino tradition that makes them exceptional. Unlike in the United States, where children leave the home after finishing high school or college, many Filipinos continue living with their parents until they get married. The Philippines is considered the melting pot of Asia. The rich melody of Chinese, Malay, Spanish, Mexican, American, and Indian cooking are noticed in Philippine cuisine. Eating out is one of the favorite Filipino pastimes. Rice is a staple in the Filipino diet and is usually eaten together with other dishes. Filipinos regularly use spoons together with forks and knives. Some also eat with their hands, especially in formal settings and when eating seafood. Popular snacks and desserts such as chicharron, deep fried pork or chicken skin, halo-halo, crushed ice with evaporated milk, flan, and sliced tropical fruit, puto, white rice cakes, bibingka rice cakes with butter or margarine and salted eggs, ensaimada, sweet rolls with grated cheese on top, polvoron powdered candy, and Toscola chocolate. Every province has its own specialty and tastes vary in each region. Speaking of food, the next time you see Miss Bass, ask her about her favorite snack food growing up, balut.
Welcome, everybody. Today, we are doing an interview with some of our students who their family comes from the Philippines. And since we're spotlighting the Philippines, we thought it would be awesome for you to hear from students who have actually lived there or are from there. So today I have with me Chantel and I have Jasmine. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
I just have a couple of questions to help us get to know all of you and to help us understand a little bit more about Filipino culture. So the first question I have is, what part of the Philippines is your family from?
Okay, me and my family is from Visayas, the Visayas side, and we mostly speak Ilonggo. My family is from Iloilo, and the language we mostly speak Tagalog.
Would either of you like to share a greeting in your language?
Okay, for elderlies, we get their hands and then bless them with our foreheads for the elderlies. All right. I wish people knew about the best restaurant in Philippines is Jollibee.
Say that again. What's the best restaurant?
Jollibee because there's delicious chicken.
Okay. So you have a favorite restaurant, and whenever people go there to the Philippines, they should go to this restaurant?
Yeah.
They would have to be at a certain place in the Philippines to go there, or is it found all over the Philippines?
It's found all over.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it's like a chain restaurant?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
That they called try street foods.
Yeah.
They're
Definitely
good.
try the street foods. I know we're kind of skipping questions, but since we're talking about street foods, are there favorite foods that you think that everybody should try? Like your favorite foods?
They called try lumpia.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, there's like fish ball and sauce, so good.
Fish balls and sauce?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. A lot of students may not know this about me, but my family actually lived in Manila and Subic Bay in the Philippines when I was little. So like when I was 1 year old to about 5 years old. And so Filipino food was a huge part of my growing up. And anytime I feel like depressed or sad or sick, I tend to make Filipino food as my comfort food because it's what I remember as a kid. So I love making lumpia or pancit, bihon, adobo. And my husband is part Filipino and Filipino Hawaiian. And so his family loves, making those foods too. So do you have a special comfort food that you really love it when your family makes this food?
Mostly buy like lechon and stuff. Yeah, and poto for dessert and halo-halo.
And halo halo. Could you describe lechon and halo halo?
Lechon is like pork chop, but with like crispy skin stuff. Yeah.
What about halo halo?
It's an ice cream with like a milkshake and like stuff. Like boba, but it's like ice cream.
Like a boba style ice cream. And isn't it typically made with like a sweet purple potato?
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
My dad sometimes always cook adobo for me.
Yeah. That's your comfort food is adobo? Me too.
Dragon fruit or durian, I don't know.
Yeah, durian or jackfruit. That's a very common one. And it's not, you don't really see it around here. I mean, we see canned versions of it and stuff, but the huge, big, like prickly, knobbly jackfruit, that's the one you're talking about?
Or rambutan, it's good.
Oh, I love rambutan. They look like spiders.
And spiders.
You can crack them
Like
open.
yummy sugar. Yeah. Like
Yeah. And they taste kind of like a really sweet grape on the inside.
yeah, it's good.
Okay. Last question. What are you most proud of about your culture?
I'm most proud because in Philippines we treat each other like a big family.
Yeah.
I'm proud that they have amazing islands in the Philippines.
A lot of natural beauty there. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and your bravery, because I know that it can be a little scary to, share this with the whole school, but I think it's so much more powerful when we get to hear from people who've actually lived there. But when we hear from people that we know and see and love or interact with, like you, then it becomes more important to us. So thank you.
And as we spotlight the Philippines, we thought it would be great to highlight one of our teachers who is Filipino American, Miss Bass.
Hello, everyone. Well, let me start with my story on how I came to the United States. So I was born in the Philippines, and my mom married my stepdad when I was about, I'd say, 4. And then we lived in Japan for a year, and I went to kindergarten there. And then we moved to China and lived there for a little bit. So when I moved to the United States, by the time I was 8, I spoke 4 different languages.
Wow.
So fluently. But moving to America was very important to my mom, and then having me learn all the American ways. And so learning English was very important. And she would be the only one that I spoke Tagalog to. And then my dad spoke fluent Japanese and Chinese. And so they were the only ones around me that would have continued those languages with me, but they wanted me to learn English. So they stopped speaking to me in all of those languages, which is, even my mom stopped speaking Tagalog with me. So hence the no accent. I don't even have that. So I grew up being American. It was interesting because as I look back, my mom didn't really, she didn't really do any of the cultures that she would have been able to teach me. So the only thing I knew how to do was cook Filipino food. So I can cook adobo, and I can cook lumpia, and I can make pancit. And then she would cook some of her dishes with me, like squid. I know my kids hated that, but I loved it. It's squid adobo, basically.
Yes, so good.
Yeah, really good. But that was really everything that we did. Filipino was the food. She would tell me stories about, when she grew up, because she came from a small village, and I lived in Manila. That's where I was born. So what I can remember is a family we lived with, who was considered rich in the Philippines because they had maids and they had cooks. And which was very different from what my mom grew up in. She grew up in, huts, and, she was from a small village. So anyway, all I had to pass down to my kids was just stories. And because I was born in the Philippines, I was not an American citizen. So at the age of 18, I became an American citizen. I took the citizenship test and learned all about everything America. So that's pretty much, it's funny because I have a lot of siblings from my biological father that are all Filipinos, and we found each other about 8 years ago. I didn't even know about them. And they spoke Tagalog, and so when they first met me, the assumption was that I would be able to speak Tagalog too. And when they started speaking, I'm like, I don't understand. So in a way, I kind of felt like, gosh, I can't even, understand my native language. And so part of me was like, I didn't really identify much about being a Filipino because I couldn't even speak the language. And sometimes I feel kind of awkward when I meet other Filipinos because they thought I would be able to speak it and I don't. And it's funny because, my mom is the only one that has gone back to the Philippines. I have never been back. So she went back to the Philippines maybe 5 years ago. And she moved to America, and so she kind of lost touch with her family. And so when she went back, she went and, visited some of her family. And she says that, and she went back to her village. Not a lot has changed in her, in her village. And she asked me if I wanted to go. And at that time, it wasn't good timing, but I would like to go. But what's keeping me back is I don't know how to speak the language. So I don't know if I could even get around. So I don't know, maybe that's one of these days I'll take my kids back because, we've been to Germany a few times and my husband's from Germany. So they got to see how he grew up and where he grew up, but they've never seen my side.
Yeah.
So, I felt like, well, maybe they need to see my side and, see what the other half is like because they definitely know the German half, but they don't know their Filipino half. Anyway, and don't ask me about balut. It was my favorite. Would I eat it now? No. So what balut is basically it's an egg that's
duck eggs.
Yeah. And or chicken eggs. But when you describe it, it's like, ugh, I don't want to eat that. But I remember growing up that it was like having an ice cream truck go by. Because they would yell balut, balut, and all the kids would run after because they wanted some. So I remember doing that, running up to the balut truck, just like an ice cream truck, and getting balut. That's my story.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's wish a very happy birthday to Jackson Chipman, Megan Echeverria Gonzalez, Carissa Hightower, Philip Wynn, Jonathan Kish, Alex Skinner, and Jackson Stone.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Mustang Message. Remember, next Friday is Crazy Sock Day. Remember to be compassionate and kind here at Thurgood Marshall, where everyone belongs, everyone learns, and everyone grows.